Ladies and gentlemen, this is your tactician, Mr. G Coalition, brother number 17, keeping fresh, staying clean. Want to discuss some things, one of which will obviously be pro wrestling. Now, where do I start? Do I want to go into, I don't know, the sports world for 5 seconds? And I'm going to say 5 seconds because I'm actually going to try to keep this particular part of the conversation way short because it's been a minute since I actually decided to kind of take the mic instead of staying in comment sections. So let me go ahead. And we talk about, let's say, my Miami Heat. I know exactly what happened. Won the Eastern Conference Finals by the skin of their teeth. It should have been a sweep. Lost the NBA Finals in what was basically this, like a gentleman's sweep, really. Got our ass kicked by the Denver Nuggets. That was months ago. Now we go into the off season. We talking about there's been this whole scuttlebutt for months and months and months about are we going to get Damian Lillard, the trade for Damian Lillard, the Heat making an offer for Damian Lillard, the Portland Trail Blazers wanting more pieces in order to be willing to give us Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard talking about how all he wants to do, now the only team he wants to join is Miami, and he's going to sit out if he's traded to anybody else. And then all of a sudden this past week he rescinds his trade offer, and then he gets traded anyway to the Milwaukee Bucks. Then people start talking, okay, maybe Miami can bring in Drew Holiday, and he gets traded to the Boston Celtics. All right, so where are we going next? I have no freaking clue. I know there's still people that Miami is potentially looking at, but I'm not exactly going to be swimming all over the world about it until we actually do make a deal for somebody. Speaking of making deals and speaking of Miami, we got Dwayne Wade, who recently just confessed in front of the entire world on Club Shay Shay that the reason that D Wade and LeBron James came together to form the super team wasn't about the Boston Celtics. It was about Kobe Bryant and him getting his fifth ring. And D Wade watching him throw the ball up in the air at the end of the game and being like, no, I ain't having this. This dude has 5 now. We collectively only have 1. Bron, we got to do something about this. We got to stop this guy. That's how it happened. Yeah. Not as impressed with... Yeah, it does not sound nearly as impressive as you would think it does. Especially since the media has done their damnedest to try to convince everybody that Kobe Bryant is not a top 5 player of all time, barely even a top 10 player of all time, because they've been hell-bent on erasing him from the conversation in order to prop up LeBron as the king, as the GOAT, as the guy next to Michael Jordan. And to me, you know what? Let's call a spade a spade. In hindsight, we stole 1, if not 2 rings. If you combine the collusion, the fact that, look, the super team was formed specifically to try to get ahead of Kobe. And then, a year or 2 later, a trade that would have sent Chris Paul to the Lakers got vetoed by David Stern, even though every single team involved agreed to it. So LeBron was allowed to come to Miami and form the super team, but the Lakers organization making a move to ship out Pau Gasol and bring in Chris Paul was deemed too anti-competitive and was vetoed. And what are we talking about years later with all the people, all the superstars forming super teams all over the place? Not one more time have we seen the league step in, whether it's done through free agency, whether it's done through trades. The only time they did it was to stop Kobe from getting a teammate at the end of his prime that could help him get over the hump and compete, if not win, a championship. We were robbed of LeBron versus Kobe because the NBA wanted to stop Kobe. So it's quite possible that those rings that LeBron got in Miami, those 2 rings he got, when he was promising more than 5, more than 6, more than 7, First off, that in itself is a massive failure that you only got 2 and you only played for 4 when you promised at least 8. Then there's the fact that this was done to stop Kobe. And what did the NBA do? The only person the NBA stopped from colluding with another star, or maybe not even colluding, from getting into a team-up with another star, was Chris Paul and Kobe, stopping them from teaming together in 2012. 2011, 2012, in that time. 2012 and 2013 are literally the 2 championships that the Heat won with D-Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh together. Those would have been the ones that Kobe Bryant and Chris Paul would have competed for if they got to lead the Lakers together. Instead, Kobe's with the Lakers, obviously. Chris Paul gets a trade accepted to go to the Clippers, and they basically both remain MVP candidates for like the next 2 or 3 years or so on LA teams. But they can't go past the second round because they ain't got nobody else that's like on the level to be able to do the big things that they needed to do, especially in that stacked ass Western Conference. As much as I hate to admit it, as a Miami Heat fan, I believe one of our championship rings rightfully would have belonged to Kobe and CP3. So as a Heat fan, I'm glad we got those rings. But from a standpoint of like knowing that the LeBron and Kobe and the NBA and the politics got involved, I absolutely cannot allow those rings to be used as part of a case to say that LeBron James is ahead of Kobe Bryant, ahead of Michael Jordan, close to Michael Jordan. I wouldn't even rate him as a top 5 player of all time, personally. Because it ain't your basketball excellence that got you those 4 rings. Talking about LeBron James. It ain't his basketball excellence that got those 4 rings. Hell, and if you want to count the fact that those rings were practically illegitimate in a sense, that's even more of a case for Dwayne Wade to be the greatest Miami Heat player of all time, as Pat Riley said, because the one ring that we got without this bullshit was D-Wade leading Shaq and the Heat in 2006. And I remember being there when that shit went down. That was our legit ring. I don't even think those were our greatest team of all time. I think the greatest Miami Heat team of all time is actually around what? The 96, 97, 98? Those era, those days. The ones with Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning and Vashawn Leonard and Dan Marley and those cats. The only reason we never had a chance to freaking win the title back then is because this was the same era of the Jordan Bulls, number 1, and number 2, the rivalry with the goddamn New York Knicks. Yeah. But that's enough of me talking Miami Heat. That's enough of me talking NBA. Everybody's all over the place about college football and the Colorado Buffs and what's going on with Deion Sanders. Frankly, when it comes to that whole situation, I'm not even going to call myself an authority on the subject. I've been following some of the people who have been following this thing closely. And here's my take. They're not winning the national championship this year. That was a thing that could have easily been automatically said even before these past 2 losses against Oregon and USC. But the main story when it comes to Deion and Colorado isn't even what they're doing on the field. It isn't even that. I mean, it is the fundamental substance, the core of the story, but what everybody's talking about, more than what goes on in the field, more than the buzz, more than the football. Actually, no, the buzz is what they're talking about more than the football. It's the celebrities, it's the prime persona, it's the glasses, it's the hats, it's the chains. It's whether he's distracting from the game. It's It's whether he's a good. I'm sorry. I'm gonna freaking go in on this fucking part of this deal. It's the conversation of whether he's really a solid Christian. I'm like, are we insulating him from criticism as if he's supposed to be the emblem of all black people? Is he the new false idol? Is he the new false? First off, some of these people who are putting out these narratives, if you look at who they are, if you look at what they've said, the things that they have stood for in the past, that they may have repented of, they may have turned away from, but overall, they're not exactly going around like, they don't really have much of a bone to really stand on based on their own past, based on their own history, based on their own lack of success, based on the fact that they are not contributing the things that they say they're all about. They're not really contributing those things the way that Dion is. He's freaking got his kids in college, not only as athletes, but also doing at least decently academically. He's setting this standard for these guys that if, now, for me personally, I think it kind of goes a little like, you need to actually have substance to pulling this one off. The whole, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. You need to actually have substance behind it and not just be an arbitrary thing where you're actually just going to just start shit early just because and then call people being late. I understand why people have a gripe with that. I personally am like, seeing way too many times employers want to punish their fucking people for coming in 2 minutes late. But when it comes to coming in early, you don't want to freaking do, not, I've seen it, but I've heard the stories. That's really what I'm trying to say. It's like, you don't get praised for coming in 15 minutes early, but you get penalized for coming, and not even don't get praised. It doesn't actually help you on the job. You're just there 15 extra minutes to be like fucking to just, I don't know, to sit in the lounge before you clock in. But if you're 2 minutes late, you got a problem. And that is kind of problematic when you do it inconsistently. I think Dion makes a point, and he tries to do it for a reason because there are companies that operate like, and there are situations where you do absolutely need to be there early. Like if you're taking an interview or an appointment and things of that nature. For things like that, you actually do need to be there earlier than scheduled so that the people that you came to see know that you're actually there and you can do business. So I get that, but the point is he's putting that standard forward for his guys to the point where he even has a son. His own sons don't get to play if they show up late if they show up on time equals late. His own sons don't get to play championship games if they show up on time equals late. So he's instilling high standards in these guys. He's making it a point not to be negative when it comes to like how he talks about anybody else. Even if he's like sometimes honest and about, I don't know, negative traits that he's seeing, he's not doing it to trash anybody. He's not doing it in a tone that's about trashing anybody. He makes it abundantly clear that that's what he's doing. So, and he's always he consistently mentions the whole hopefully and prayerfully thing when it comes to like certain situations that he's looking to see like hopefully get cleared out. Like for example, like when guys are injured or hurt and hopes that they can get better. When adjustments that need to be made, he sees that like, okay, maybe this thing. Yeah, like a situation he sees like, okay, maybe this thing needs to be squared out. Hopefully we'll figure it out. He does, and he constantly talks about being blessed when it comes to certain things. It's like, my blessings don't really affect this person's blessings, so why would I hope that this person doesn't get it? Why would I want to be negative about this person? Why would I wish ill on my opponents when look, my blessings and their blessings, it doesn't clash. They can do well, they can be blessed, and so can I at the same time. Like, the dude has good messages and he has good things that he puts and imparts on people. And I understand that some like political commentators, for example, are like, speak up more on like the bigger issues out there. Don't just be like the guy who puts out the feel good sports Christianity message. I get that. And maybe one day we'll see a stand from Prime that actually stands on something that a little more important than just the sports world. I get it. So on that matter, okay, cool. But when it comes to people who are constantly looking to nitpick at every little thing to try to paint the picture of a charlatan, a false Christ, or this, that, or the third, a false idol, it's like, bruh, no. You don't want to go there, especially with the skeletons in your closet, and B, some of the things that you yourself have admitted to saying, and the fact that you put some people on your shows that you shouldn't really have any business putting on your shows just uncritically, just like that. You got a dude who freaking stole from the poor, allegedly, stole millions of dollars from the poor and put it into his daughter's school. You got this cat on your panel, week in, week out. Now, one's questioning him about this shit. But you want him to join you in trashing the living hell out of Dion, but he's actually giving praise and credit to Dion for his faith. This dude shouldn't even be on your fucking panel, but he's more reasonable about Deion Sanders than you are. What the fuck, dude? I think most people know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm not trying to name a name because I'm not trying to stay on this the entire time I'm talking. This is the thing that I just kind of want to get shit off my chest a little bit. But I'm not trying to this is my main topic of conversation. So I'm going to dip from this and I'm going to go and focus hopefully the next, 25, 30 minutes or so, which is a little more than half if that's how long it goes. So I'm not even going to keep that prediction about how long I'm going. I want to go into pro wrestling because we're about to start. And by the time this gets uploaded, we'll already be well into, if not fully done with, AEW's WrestleDream. AEW, they're the main topic that I really, really want to get on real quick for several different reasons. I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them right now, but I'm going to at least tackle at least a couple of things on the quick. First things first, when it comes to AEW, the big story that happened over the past few months, we already know the deal. CM Punk got himself fired. Now, when I say CM Punk got himself fired, I'm not even going to say that. I'm not saying that I'm on Team Elite. I've already maintained this. I've already said this in video, on comments. There are no heroes in this CM Punk versus the Elite bullshit drama. There are no heroes in this. There's been reason to suspect that CM Punk did not actually love the professional wrestling business and was not there for the love of the business before he even came to AEW. But then as soon as he does come to AEW, people forget how he's been trashing the business for 7+ years. And then there's the Elite. The obvious influence in politics and Dave Meltzer and Reseda PWG hot garbage that they were plugging into their own work in New Japan Pro Wrestling as the leaders of the goddamn Bullet Club. There's that. And that was actually the thing that soured me on these cats. Like, before we even got to AEW, I don't want to freaking go into it over and over and over. But I already came into this whole thing with AEW skeptical of the people running this shit. And then CM Punk's arrival in AEW, skeptical of the guy that's supposed to be the savior of this shit. And lo and behold, you saw the all-out drama last year. You saw the suspensions and the injuries and the people being stripped of championships. You saw the freaking digs that the Elite were throwing in, the sly little digs at CM Punk that they threw in without mentioning his name. when they came back and resumed their trios business. You saw Punk talking about the counterfeit bucks. Soon as he came back as the lead star of the new Saturday Night Collision. You saw all of that. And then this past All In, you look at what happened with that press. No, not even press conference. The press conference was all out last year. You look what happened before the show even started. The dude's freaking travel arrangements were way off, and he didn't even have proper accommodations to get to the hotel, to get to the arena, to get to the show. Who's the travel coordinator in AEW? A friend of the Young Bucks. Then we hear about this fucking bullshit. Not even then. Then we get to this bullshit that's been brewing for a couple weeks now. All this stuff about Punk calling out people in the locker room, getting guys like Christopher Daniels and Ryan Nemeth to not be able to go backstage in Collision. The freaking head of talent relations is Christopher Daniels. One of the greatest TNA wrestlers of all time. One of the guys who was the heart and soul of TNA along with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. That guy, Christopher Daniels, not allowed to go to Collision because him and CM Punk didn't really like each other because of some shit. I think it had to do with the fact that Punk probably thought Daniels had been disloyal in the whole Ring of Honor versus TNA thing. Like Daniels was one of the guys who stuck with TNA instead of ROH, even though Punk had made a pact for everybody to go to stick with ROH, and I think he never forgave the dudes. Some bullshit like that. I don't know. I don't care. Look, so basically Punk and Daniels didn't like each other. So Daniels not allowed to be the head of talent relations on Saturday nights. How? I have no freaking clue, or at least I would have no freaking clue if we didn't hear about Punk having an employee contract on top of his talent contract, which we all know what that means. But I'm skipping ahead of the story. You got Ryan Nemeth, the guy who's backstage, Dolph Ziggler's brother. Dolph Ziggler, who recently got released from WWE among the Endeavor layoffs. Who knows? We might see them two end up teaming up or linking up somewhere down the line. But the point is, Ryan Nemeth freaking made a tweet calling CM Punk literally the softest guy ever because of how he got starched in the UFC. So Punk doesn't want Ryan back there. Wasn't Punk's whole kayfabe breaking interview with Jim Ross all about how he came to give back to the young guys? Yeah, how about that? Then there's Jungle Boy. Fucking Jungle Boy, the deal with the glass, the little man, Jack Perry's son, who recently feuded with Christian Cage and kicked off probably Christian's best run since TNA and the Instant Classic. Some say even better than that. I don't. I still prefer TNA Christian, but this version of Christian Cage is still on point. And that started with the feud with Jungle Boy. And here's the funny thing. Tony Khan thought that he was turning Christian Cage into an asshole to elevate Jungle Boy. But Jungle Boy's babyface run after that just fell flat to the point where Jack Perry had to turn into a mini Christian Cage while Christian Cage is walking around with the TNT Championship, even though Luchasaurus is the official champion. And then he uses Darby Allin's challenge to bait him into a triple threat situation where Christian and Lucha basically got the double team all over Darby. But then Christian takes advantage of Lucha being taken down and pins Lucha to become the official champion. And it's hilarious as fucking hell that the Instant Classic Christian Cage is using Luchasaurus like his own clone of Tomko. Holy fucking God, that is actually good shit. I love what Christian is doing right now in AEW. I'm not even going to freaking lie about that. But I'm skipping ahead again. Going back to Jungle Boy. It's funny how Tony Khan thought he was elevating Jungle Boy. Instead, he ended up elevating Christian. And then Jungle Boy, he's feuding with Hook over the FTW title. Hook, who he turned on after losing to Sonata at Forbidden Door. And then, but backstage, his beef with CM Punk, because Punk was advising him, don't use real glass. This is where the employee contract shit comes in. Because first off, for those of us who didn't know about Punk having an employee contract until he got fired, what business did he have being the guy to walk up to Jungle Boy and tell him, do not use real glass? We didn't know, but as soon as we find out that he had an employee contract, we know what that means. He's got stroke. He had stroke, I should say. Those employee contracts that go to talent, those guys, that's stroke. That's power. That's managerial leverage that these guys have in the company. And CM Punk had that. CM Punk had that. And he tried to use it on Jungle Boy. And Jungle Boy took offense to that. He took umbrage to that. Because he's a fucking mark for himself. And see how I'm going at both Punk and Jungle Boy. Punk had managerial stroke that we didn't know he had, that he probably should. Look, why are you, Tony Khan, constantly giving more and more wrestlers managerial power in your company while they're still active in the ring wrestling? There's a fucking disaster waiting to happen, and look what the fuck happened. Why did CM Punk have this managerial stroke to hold over Jungle Boy? Why did he have to be the one to try to tell Jungle Boy, don't use real glass, instead of letting somebody who's not so active in the ring, or hell, who isn't even active in the ring at all, be the guy who sends that message? Why weren't you the one telling Jungle Boy, don't use real glass? Why wasn't the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, the one telling Jungle Boy not to use real glass? Why'd it have to be CM Punk? Well, now we know. Dude was a boss. I'm trying to run a business here was not just a slip of the tongue. And why would Jungle Boy take offense to somebody trying to advise him for his safety? Because he's friends with the Young Bucks, who are also bosses and who are fucking pricks, pretending to be nice boys. That's the whole Reseda PWG philosophy that some of these guys take with them, that they think that because they were able to run this funky comedy indie niche company successfully, or at least be the stars of it semi-successfully and become a little bit more notorious for it, they think that gives them the authority to be able to say and do whatever they want and put out whatever rinky-dink horse shit that they think is funny to them. You want to talk about shit being done just to pop Vince? There's obviously a bunch of shit on Being the Elite and on the AEW product that's done just to pop the Young Bucks. But nobody wants to talk about that. And these cats, they think that doing the most extreme shit and no selling it and making it look meaningless so that they have to do even more extreme shit in order to get over for the next pop, they think that shit's fun. They think that shit's cool. Jungle Boy, obviously, was brought into that mindset by the Young Bucks, and so he didn't care about real glass potentially hurting him. And so much so that he took offense to somebody suggesting that he do care about that. That's just a problem. So I could go on and on. But I think I'm done with that particular detail, because that's the freaking lead up to the real big news. Look what happened at All In. The fucking backstage. No. Not even the backstage fight. The match with Hook at the pre-show on the buy-in for All In. Jungle Boy did use real glass. And he looked straight at the camera and said, "Real glass, cry me a river." Now, CM Punk is already a volatile person. Big Nasty Alfred Conoway thinks that he's freaking got some sort of, what is it again? CTE? He thinks he's got CTE, like the whole concussion post effect shit where like your mind isn't functioning correctly and you're more volatile or some shit than you normally were before you got those concussions. And yeah, he thinks that Punk has that. There might, like, he has never been officially diagnosed, but there might be some truth to that conjecture. And this cat just freaking got screwed out of a proper ride to the show where he had to freaking tailgate and hijack, not even hijack, and hitchhike with fans to even get to the arena properly because your travel coordinator, who's friends with the Young Bucks, did not have his back. Meanwhile, Jungle Boy, who was also friends with the Young Bucks, who's had this disagreement with Punk over the past couple of weeks because he wanted to do a real glass spot, does a real glass spot and then speaks a message to the camera saying, "Cry me a river." And this volatile idiot, CM Punk, goes in for a confrontation after the match, right before his match with Samoa Joe, and then get into a fucking backstage fight where Punk apparently lunges at Tony Khan, grabs Tony Khan or some shit like that, I don't know, and basically screams in Tony's ear that he hates this place. And he's mad furious and he's ready to fucking walk. And Samoa Joe has to come up to him and convince him to do the goddamn match. Punk and Joe have the match. It's a fun match. Has a little spot where they both kind of pay mock homage to Hulk Hogan because Punk has been hearing the comparisons between himself and the modern day Hogan of AEW. And it's a cool match. And Punk wins and all is said and done. But he also had this interesting little moment where he mouthed to the fans goodbye. Almost as if he knew that last incident that he just had back there with Jungle Boy was going to be the end of his AEW career. And lo and behold, it is the end of his AEW career. It's the last time he ever shows up on an AEW program. The next one he's scheduled for would have been the following week, Collision, and then and then this year's All Out. But instead of Punk showing up, Tony Khan is freaking taking the microphone in front of the Chicago fans before Collision and telling them that he had to fire CM Punk for the good of the company. Getting pilloried with boos before the show and pretty much letting everybody know Punk ain't gonna be there. And that incident had me fucking afraid for my life, this, that, and the third. To basically tell people, look, don't expect Punk. Don't expect that CM Punk will be back. He's not here. He's not going to be here. And if you need to hate somebody for it, hate me, boo me, but don't take it out on the talent that are going to be performing out there tonight. That's basically what it was. It was him taking the heat right then and there, which, you know what? Balls. Credit. I'll give him credit. He actually showed professional leadership balls by not only making the decision to get rid of CM Punk, but also like taking the heat for it right in front of the Chicago crowd. Even if it was a pre-rehearsed kind of speech that he gave about it, even if it was pre-rehearsed based on his own like scripted statement or whatever, he at least came out there and shouldered the fucking blows so that the fans in Chicago weren't hijacking the rest of the show or taking it out on the rest of the talent that was going out there and doing their business. Except for the Elite a little bit. They could get some shit because obviously they were the other side of the whole heat that got him fired. Also, Jungle Boy was suspended, which is good. Although they probably could have fired him too because he was on the side of the guys who were involved with the prior incident with Punk last year. So you know what? Maybe suspending him instead. Maybe just suspending him was all right. Maybe it was the right move, or maybe it was too soft in taking sides and allowing the Elite to win the war, when everybody with half a brain should already fucking know that if you're if you're Tony Khan, if you're leading the company, what you should have already fucking known is, look, this is not gonna be good. This beef between CM Punk and the Elite is not going to help your company. And allowing either side to actually win that fucking beef is not going to be good for the company either. So the only way that this could have been done fairly, firing CM Punk was only half the fucking deal. The other half of the deal should have been those executive vice president titles, and no doubt the managerial employee contracts that came with them should have been taken away from the Elite. That shit should have been terminated too, because yeah, Punk being volatile is one of the common denominators of this whole thing. The other common denominator is the Reseda boys and their BS being the shit that baited him. But that's not going addressed? Are we fucking real? Matt Jackson fucking goes on Collision that night, and him and Nick do a victory lap around the ring. And people are like, and some people want to freaking make the excuse that, oh, well, they just came out there and they made a save. Then are they allowed to celebrate? Are they allowed to do a victory lap? Oh yeah, they made a save. Let me add the context of that. They made a save for their rivals who they're teaming with the next night at All In to take on the Bullet Club. The save did not successfully touch any of Bullet Club because they all ran out of dodge already. And then you go to shake FTR's hand and they turn you down. What the fuck about that was worth a victory lap? They were not taking that victory lap because of the kayfabe thing they just did. They were taking the victory lap to celebrate that they won the backstage battle and got rid of CM Punk. That was obvious. These niggas set up Punk, and he took the bait and flew off the handle, and he lost the fucking war on his own. He did. So I'm not saying there's innocence. I'm not saying there's heroes. Tony Khan could have been the hero if he got on everybody's ass, but that's clearly not what he did. It's clearly not what he did. By doing it the way that he did it, he basically picked a side. Why are these cats still EVPs? Why are these cats still EVPs? That's a question I would have. If I'm asking about the well-being of that company, I'm like, why are these guys still EVPs? Oh, the power is only symbolic. It doesn't really mean anything. Why? Because they're not directly booking shit anymore? They still have influence. Look on merchandise. Look at video games. The fact that they're still able to set up fucking talent meetings. They still have that power and influence. Okay? It's common sense. It's practical gaslighting to try to tell us that being titled an executive vice president in a company that is specifically named after you means nothing. It's ridiculous to even think that. Oh, but what happened at All In and at All Out in terms of all their matches? They lost to all the guys, right? They lost to all the guys. They lost to Takeshita. They lost to Bullet Club. They lost to FTR in the tag team title match. So the Elite weren't being selfish. They were looking out. Yeah. How convenient that they took all the L's at the same time that they got rid of CM Punk. And then, about a month and a half later, the Mogul Embassy and their Ring of Honor tag team titles become cannon fodder to boost Hangman for this fucking feud with Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland getting into a feud with the Elite meant that his guys had to lose those titles. lose the freaking Ring of Honor trios titles. And I'm like, okay. On the one hand, okay, I get it. The Elite and Hangman, they're bigger stars and shit and things of that nature. So, of course, it's going to make more sense. And guys like Khan and Toa, they just started in the business. On the one hand, okay, they're not gonna freaking raise a stink, and nor is it going to be a thing where like this is going to significantly harm. They're not in like this great position of standing where they're going to be significantly harmed by losing championships to guys of the stature and status of the Elite. All right. That's all well and good, but what about the fact that both Swerve and Prince Nana were at ringside and they did not do heel shit to interfere in that match? What about the fact that Swerve recently kicked out AR Fox because he couldn't be trusted because he lost to Nick Wayne in a fucking tag team match? But Brian Cage is losing match after match after match to Hangman, and Swerve ain't doing nothing to kick him out. And that brings discontinuity to that picture. I'm sorry, Brian Cage needed to get that fucking win. And Nana and Swerve needed to show that they were serious evil threat by screwing Hangman and allowing Brian Cage to get that win to keep those titles on the Gates of Agony. That's what needed to fucking happen. But instead, it's Hangman and it's the Bucks. And now I'm supposed to believe that there's a chance that, we're looking at this whole fucking thing, right? With these guys, with WrestleDream, where it's taking place, where it's happening tonight. And you got 3 guys from that area who are all in singles matches on this night. You got Darby Allin taking on Christian Cage for the TNT Championship, which is supposedly going to be the main event. You got Bryan Danielson getting a special challenge from Zack Sabre Jr. coming from New Japan and TMDK. And you got Swerve Strickland coming after Hangman Page for his spot in the upper echelon of AEW. Am I really supposed to believe all 3 of these cats are going to win their matches? All 3 of them on this one night are going to win. Entirely possible. I mean, Tony Khan is definitely booking hometown guys more pleasantly than Vince. But I think he's not going to make it too unbelievable to where all 3 of them have to win. My deal is Darby Allin is the one who can afford the L the most because Christian Cage is the guy who could put the most shit up his sleeve in order to justify that victory. Plus, he just became the TNT champion. So dropping it immediately is just going to take it right back down to when it was being hot potatoed with not even Chris Jericho, with Sammy Guevara and Scorpio Sky, and then it meant shit. You're just going to be doing that again if Christian loses the title to Darby after he just officially won it. So my common sense bone is saying it has to be Darby who takes the L. But then I hear Darby talking about how his match is the main event. And if that's the truth, if Darby versus Christian is closing the show, and if Adam Copeland, is supposedly going to be making his AEW debut tonight, then we might have trouble on the horizon with this one. Holy shit, how far ahead did I just skip from CM Punk and the Elite all the way up to WrestleDream? Yeah, that's, you know what? I'm not even going to complain. I'm not even going to complain. Because look at how everything leads together. And now look where we are. Swerve Strickland, one of the guys who I think should be one of the future leaders. Not even future, but like, let's say over this next year or 2, this man should be ascending to being one of the top guys in AEW. Should be a contender for the AEW World Championship. By this time next year, he should have at least had 1 title shot. And by this time in 2025, he should already be the first black AEW World Champion. That's my vibe with Swerve. I am that good as far as Swerve Strickland because I see what he's doing. I look at the connections he's building. He's bringing in the hip hop culture. He's bringing in the aspect of like the grit and the work and the supervillain creativity. He's bringing a certain sense of he's a guy with a vision and a purpose that you don't see amongst most of these fucking cats in AEW because they're all happy doing the same shit. He can wrestle the indie style, but he doesn't come across as an indie geek. He doesn't come across as a fucking geek like a lot of these fucking cats do. He comes across as a man who can legitimately be dangerous outside of the ring setting. The dude literally just fucking filmed a segment a month or two ago where him and his boy Fox, before Fox proved he couldn't be trusted, and hear more on that in a bit, raided the Buddy Wayne Academy training farm and basically showered Nick Wayne in his own blood. That shit was gritty. And then calling Darby Allin and saying the ghosts of your past are coming to haunt you and all that. That was fucking excellent when I saw that segment. I'm like, okay, this motherfucker, he's a fucking savage. He's a killer. He's a dangerous man. And the reason I use those words specifically is I'm going to make a callback to a certain situation. When we talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, Switchblade Jay White was kicked out of the Bullet, well, not really kicked out of the Bullet Club, but was forced to leave the Bullet Club in New Japan by virtue of the fact that he was forced to leave New Japan by losing to Eddie Kingston at New Japan Strong in February, and that loser leaves New Japan match. And then David Finlay fucking jumps him from behind and says that he's going to take everything that Jay White just lost. And next thing you know, he turns up as the leader of Bullet Club. And part of Finlay's new idea as the leader of Bullet Club is that his version of Bullet Club, or as he fondly has taken to calling it, My Bullet Club. My Bullet Club. My Bullet. No. Nah, I'm not fucking buying it. And then this dude talks about savages and killers. And he brings in a bunch of young boys who ain't done shit. Talking about the War Dogs. Your mileage may vary on whether they're actually doing, on whether what they're actually doing is actually building up Bullet Club, rebuilding Bullet Club properly or not. My vibe is, nah, y'all can do better than that, and you know it. Bullet Club can do better than that and should be doing better than that, and you fucking know it. Trying to put over Gabriel Kidd, who just a year or two ago was fucking cutting a heartfelt speech about coming back from being suicidal because he knew that he was going to be back in a wrestling ring. Having that motherfucker walk around jumping people from behind, acting like a fucking crazy berserk Logan Paul, and expecting everybody to fucking react to him, get scared of him, hate him, and shit like that. And he fucking goes up to some kid's face. How many times have I fucking heard about this? Him going up to a kid's face to try to intimidate them about how he's been such a veteran, how he's with the Bullet Club, and how he's doing this and that. And the kids stone face him, no sell everything he's saying and doing. Do not give him a reaction. Do not give him fear. Do not give him hate. Do not give him anything. How many times have I heard them try to close out shows with David Finlay on the mic the way that they usually have their some of their top guys, like guys who win the main event of a certain show, or get to be the guy who freaking closes out and bids the fans good night at the end of the night. They have David Finlay do that? No reaction whatsoever. Remember when Jay White was doing that and had Japanese crowds eating out the palm of his fucking hands? Yeah. And this motherfucker is walking around talking about his young boys, or I'm sorry, his war dogs are savages and killers. And only savages and killers are allowed in his version of Bullet Club. Meanwhile, I'm looking at the cats he's talking about. I'm looking at Gabe Kidd. I'm talking about Alex Coughlin, who on the one hand, the entrance feels like he's trying too hard, both flexing and too sweeting it and having the fucking silhouette at the same time. Feels a little bit like you're trying too hard, dog. On the other hand, his freaking G1 press conference promo showing that he's pissed off because of everything that he did, everything that he sacrificed, all the time with his parents that he lost to try to be a part of New Japan, to try to get ahead in New Japan, to do all the right things at the dojo, but he ain't been getting anywhere for it. And the only reason he got anything is because, one, David Finlay started talking to him about taking what he deserves instead of just waiting for it to be given to him. And number two, fucking Aussie Open went to AEW, so now there's space in the G1, so New Japan decided to call him. So now he's pissed. And that's why he's with Bullet Club. And you know what? Good. I like that storytelling. I like the fact that the dude is a legitimately strong guy. You know what? I have no problem. Not no problem with Coughlin. I don't think, okay, you replace what you lost last year with Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, and what you lost in February with Jay White, with David Finlay, and bringing in young boys, including him. It's not enough to make up for the loss. It's not enough to make up for what Bullet Club lost over the past year. Bringing in Finlay and then having these fucking catch pups, aka war dogs, fucking do what they're doing. It's not enough for me. It's not clicking for me. Bullet Club Gold, the Bang Bang Gang, is clicking a lot more for me. The Mogul Embassy with Swerve Strickland is clicking a lot more for me. Can you believe I'm actually over here praising AEW based on their version of Bullet Club and what should be their version of Bullet Club? Can you believe I'm praising those more over New Japan's Bullet Club in the current state that it's in? My humble opinion, they fucked up when they kicked out Tama Tonga. Because they obviously didn't anticipate that they were going to lose Jay White. Or if they did, they didn't properly have the bases covered for replacing him. And because they didn't, instead of freaking Tama being the heart and soul of the stable for how many freaking years and taking over the throne now that he's ready to be a main event guy, or ready to at least approach being a main event guy, ready to be one of the higher tier players in AEW, in New Japan, I should say. Instead of having Tama Tonga be that motherfucker and take over Bullet Club like he was freaking built to for the last 9 years, you give it to David Finlay. What are you fucking doing? So Finlay talks about savages and killers. I see Swerve bloodying people up in their own house. He's the savages and killers. He's the guy I would take seriously at the head of an operation. So I look at Swerve. I see the Mogul Embassy. I see what they're doing. I'm like, this dude needs to be positioned for a future world title shot. But he keeps losing every major feud he's in. Like Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. Yeah, rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. Much respect to Wyndham Rotunda. My condolences to the family. All those things that need to be said. I've had other people who have said a lot more than me when it comes to that. But it's a similar deal. It's a similar deal right now. With Swerve, talk a big game, be an impressive creative force, but every major feud he's been in as a heel so far, he's lost. He's either lost or it's gone nowhere, like the Keith Lee thing. That shit's still in limbo. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm looking at this current deal with Hangman. And I'm saying, at the very least, I don't know if this means he's going to win the overall feud, but please tell me he fucking wins this match in his hometown. Please tell me Swerve is not going to be the one out of the three hometown boys, him, Darby, and Bryan Danielson. Please tell me he's not going to be the one to take the L. Because if he is, look, the only thing that just happened with this fucking Elite versus Embassy feud is his boys losing their tag titles and him losing another big pay-per-view match. Nah, that would be unacceptable in my book. That would just prove that all the Elite's magnanimous gesturing, that they're putting over guys, that they're not being selfish, that they're not in business for themselves, that they did at the same time that they fired CM Punk was just that. It was posturing. If Swerve doesn't go over tonight, the Elite were posturing when they put over Takeshita and they put over Bullet Club Gold. Only way I'm convinced that they were actually seriously not going into business for themselves is if Hangman Page loses this match to Swerve Strickland tonight. Now, by the time this video goes up, I'm probably already going to know whether that happened or not. So let me just reiterate that. But that's another story for its own fucking ball game. Point I'm on right now is Swerve needs to win that match. Also looking at, could look at other issues. Not even other issues. Could look at other matches on the card. Talking about Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre. It's obvious that they're aiming for Danielson to win that. Darby Allin and Christian Cage. If any of the Tacoma boys need to lose, it's him. Tacoma, Seattle, Aberdeen. Swerve is Tacoma. Danielson's Aberdeen. Darby is Seattle itself. Okay, so Darby is Seattle straight through. Swerve is Tacoma. Bryan is Aberdeen. They're still in that area. They're still that state. And if any of these guys, from a creative standpoint, from a everybody will have to praise Tony Khan for a long-term booking. From a long-term booking standpoint, the only guy out of those three that should be taking an L is Darby Allin to Christian Cage. Christian should beat Darby Allin. That should be the only loss that the Washington boys take. Swerve should beat Hangman. Danielson is obviously beating Zack Sabre. Watch somebody surprise me and go, "Oh, Zach lost his." No. No, I'm not. I don't think it's gonna happen. No. Omega, Jericho, Ibushi, and Jericho against Guevara, Ospreay, and who else? Takeshita. My mindset ever since Ospreay, for basically Ospreay's entire AEW summer, all these matches involving the United States, the IWGP United States Championship, bringing that back to New Japan and bringing back the faith of New Japan in its own fucking company. My whole mindset since with Ospreay's return to AEW and his return excursion to AEW over this past summer, before he presumably actually signs with AEW after his New Japan contract runs out at the end of January in 2025. My whole mindset is Ospreay better win this match. But now it's like, with this match now, with him being part of the Don Callis family, like, I honestly don't like the result of this one. I'm fine if they lose, because Ospreay has already won both the actual big matches that really mattered in this equation, getting that title back, keeping it. Omega, again, going over Omega, going over Jericho. He's already won those. I'm cool with that. But I'm guessing that this is the point where they got to where like Omega and Jericho, they're teaming for the first time ever. So the most logical thing to do is they got to take the win. And this is me who doesn't like Kenny Omega. I've already freaking pointed that out. I've already said it over and over. I don't like Kenny. I really don't like the Bucks. But overall, it's like, look, I'm not going to pretend that these guys don't practically run the company. I'm not going to pretend that these guys aren't athletic and aren't talented. I'm not going to pretend that Kenny doesn't know how to do big matches. I'm not going to pretend that people don't like him. Look, all those things are a fact. Kenny, and really, the only reason that Young Bucks are considered elite is because of him. To be perfectly honest. You know what? Yeah, I'll give Kenny Omega that credit for his talent. But do I think his approach to the game is 100% right? Not quite. I think it's a potent negative combination of the New Japan Strong Style and the fucking Young Bucks influence. I think those two things do not mix well in the concoction that is Kenny Omega's current professional wrestling philosophy. But I think he has the talent to be amazing. And sometimes he is amazing. And sometimes he's just a guy who people think is amazing, but sometimes he's amazing, sometimes he's overrated. Let me just put it like that. In terms of him in the ring. But he's definitely popular. He's definitely the guy who puts the elite in the elite in terms of like how they actually are as wrestlers. Like, I'll flat out say the Young Bucks are not good wrestlers. They're just freaking talented goofballs. But Kenny, I'm not gonna freaking go there with him. I'm not going there with him. Jericho, the dude obviously has let himself go, both from a build and a creative standpoint, on so many levels since going to AEW. He basically comes across like the dad trying to be cool, and it's kind of not working the way that that most of his legendary shit in WWE and even his freaking New Japan appearances. The AEW thing, for the most part, from a standpoint of like Jericho being the most epic he's ever been or anything like that, nah, that's far from the case. That's far from the case. There's a lot of shit that he's done that has lowered his legacy, in my personal opinion. But he's still Chris Jericho. And he's still a big star. He's still a big name. And it still doesn't make sense for him to not get W's. So yeah, Omega, Jericho get the win. And Ibushi as well. Yeah, Omega, Ibushi, and Jericho are going to get the win, as they should in this case. I'm perfectly fine with it. Hell, I don't even know what match fucking kicked off the show. It's already freaking 5:29. This is Pacific time, so I'm guessing it's 8:29 Eastern. So I'm guessing this show's already started. Any one of these matches I'm talking about might have already fucking happened. MJF defending his freaking tag team titles, his Ring of Honor tag team titles that he won with Adam Cole. The Better Than You Bebe story has been surprisingly good from the standpoint of, would you have thought that MJF could make a sellable babyface? As much as he's been like this super scumbag, the devil himself type of heel, would you have predicted that this dude could actually be a good babyface before this story with Adam Cole? Probably not. But now I'm like, yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'm sold on good guy, sympathetic scumbag Max. The guy who, yeah, he's obviously still an asshole, still a self-admitted asshole. He's not a good guy, not a real good guy. But if you actually like have somebody who's willing to actually be friends with him and kind of show him the way, he's willing to freaking go by that friend and try to do the right thing. It's an interesting layer that they added to his character. But they managed to add that and to make him like be more accepting of the fans and stuff without actually taking away the fundamental core of what made MJF as a character work in the first place. And so far, so good. I know some people are thinking that the whole him trying to be a good guy thing is kind of going into neckbeard cringe or whatever, but I'm not seeing it yet. personally. I'm not seeing it so far. I'm seeing a guy who was basically talking about how I'm going to spend this whole title reign barely wrestling, turn into a guy who's willing to defend tag team titles by himself because his friend is injured, and the alternative means relinquishing those titles. And that story is actually played out pretty damn good. Then you got the twist with the Undisputed Era and the Kingdom supposedly like trying to freaking come back and go and basically goading Adam into trying to decide between them and Max. And it's like, where does this actually go? And the constant hints that which one's gonna stab the other in the back, which I think is exactly what they needed to do for that story. You needed to establish that, look, either Adam Cole or MJF could be faking the other out or could be ready to snap at a moment's notice and just turn right back into the fucking backstabbing bastard that he always was. People forget, like, people immediately thought, like a lot of people immediately looked at the story and were like, okay, when does MJF turn back on Adam Cole and prove that he's the devil? But I'm like, but I'm always looking in the back of my mind, and I'm like, in the same way that I'm looking at for example, the Elite and the Bullet Club, and thinking that fucking plot thread needs to be resolved at some point, especially for me to ever get behind the Elite as solid baby faces, or even solid anything. Personally, for me to solidly get behind the Elite and to not be questioning their every fucking move, they need to resolve this whole storyline of them and Bullet Club by freaking admitting that they're not the Bullet Club. I need to see that fucking plot line. I need to see that happen. But just like that, I look at Adam Cole's history of backstabbing, including the Elite, and I'm like, why are we overlooking the idea that he could possibly be the snake in this? And lo and behold, AEW has played this perfectly to where they're both being good guys, or at least trying to be good guys and be good friends to each other, but we have no freaking clue who's going to stab who. Somebody's got to stab somebody at some point, but who's going to do it? And the more and more this story is actually going on, the more it looks like MCF's actually trying to be genuine. He's actually trying to be legit with this. So if we're supposed to expect somebody to pull a backstab, if we're supposed to expect somebody to be the scumbag, to be the traitor in this situation, it would actually be more likely be Adam Cole. Based on this appeals from his friends, based on the fact that MJF is the one who's actually looks like whose turn is the part that's moving the audience more than any other element of this. The fact that now we have Adam Cole getting injured, and they're obviously overplaying the injury as part of the work, but it's still a legit injury that's got to take him out for a few weeks. Meanwhile, because of it, MJF is out there forced to freaking defend tag team titles by himself, 2-on-1 in a handicap match. So he's the more legit babyface at this point of the two from a character standpoint. The reason Adam Cole turned face is because of the sympathy from the concussion. But Max's face turn was entirely built on what his character's done. And you know what? I'm here for it. And I'm honestly believing that this story is in fact going toward the direction that Adam Cole's going to be the one to turn. Now, if they really want to swerve us, they won't have anybody betray anybody, but they're going to have MJF. If they really want to freaking pull a shocking twist, how about MJF and Adam Cole both go heel and reform the Undisputed Kingdom with strong Taven, Bennett, and O'Reilly? What if they all freaking come together and do this thing? And it's not about who's stabbing who in the back, but about all these guys wanting to come together and dominate both Ring of Honor and AEW. What if? You never know. They could be pulling that. Shoot, MJF literally just said, I don't like Strong, but I got to respect the fact that he's your boy. You never fucking know. And this is actually an intriguing thing. I actually think that with this storyline, they can go any number of different ways, and they can all be good. They can all be executed well. I actually believe that they have. I don't know if I would say they have their ducks in a row with this one. I mean, I was so totally confident that WWE had their ducks in a row with the Bloodline, but then Roman Reigns beat Cody Rhodes the same way he always wins. And then the shit just went topsy-turvy, inconsistent. Sometimes it's epic, sometimes it's nonsensical. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to give that type of good faith to any wrestling arc to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm 100% sure that they got their ducks in. And they're doing this exactly right, and they're not going to fuck it up. I don't have that type of good faith for any of these companies anymore. Not for WWE, not for New Japan with how they've mismanaged Bullet Club, not for and even the fucking time when Jay White won the Wrestle Kingdom briefcase from Kota Ibushi, the first time a G1 winner ever fucking lost their briefcase after the fact, and then all of that amounted to nothing because Ibushi, thanks to Naito's charity and freaking willpower of Japanese spirit, apparently, he still gets the freaking Intercontinental and IWGP Heavyweight titles at the end of Wrestle Kingdom anyway, as if he never fucking lost the damn things. As if he never lost the right to challenge. And then next thing you know, a year or two later, freaking Okada, the same guy who introduced the rule that you have to defend the Wrestle Kingdom briefcase, becomes the guy who gets the Wrestle Kingdom briefcase and then doesn't have to defend it against anybody who beat him in the G1. Fucking incredible. You lowered the stakes on this thing, and now you just want to eliminate them for your convenience. Yeah, not a fan of that. Not a fan of David Finlay being the replacement leader for Switchblade and Bullet Club when that shit should have gone to Tama Tonga. Not a fan of Evil and House of Torture still being part of Bullet Club. I feel like they work much better as their own faction. Not a fan of... There's another thing that's not related to Bullet Club that I think I'm kind of questioning also, but I kind of forget what it is. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. I'm not. Yeah, that's basically my main gripe with New Japan and the outsourcing of championships. That's another fucking deal. Especially to AEW. Like, you cannot be that willing to outsource your titles to AEW and never fucking ask for your own pound of flesh back. That just doesn't work for me. If New Japan is supposed to have any type of pride or faith in itself as the as the best wrestling company in the world outside of WWE, you can't just be outsourcing your shit to any random AEW guy that Tony Khan says we want this guy to have a title. And then never fucking ask for your pound of flesh back. I mean, it's to the point where I see fucking people on Twitter talking about what if Moxley became the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And I'm like, what? Why the fuck would you want that for New Japan Pro Wrestling without them ever getting their hands on an AEW title? Any AEW title. You would tell me Mox should be the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion before any New Japan guy ever touches any AEW belt. That's New Japan proving its weakness in a nutshell if that shit happens. Especially after fucking both TNA and CMLL had partnerships with AEW that completely dissolved because at some point it just became completely clear that AEW is just abusing them. Wait, was it CMLL? No. CMLL is the partner of New Japan. AAA is the company that partnered with AEW. But yeah, they freaking torpedoed those partnerships once it became clear that all AEW wanted to do was use them for titles. But New Japan's willing to allow themselves to be used for titles. Fucking bullshit. It comes across as stupid and weak, and like you don't really have faith in yourself. And that's another fucking problem I got. That's the other problem I got besides the Bullet Club thing. But on the note of Bullet Club, you got the freaking the masked goons, along with the devil, or a guy in a devil mask, assuming it's a guy, it's entirely possible that it could be Britt Baker as part of a setup by the Undisputed Kingdom to kind of either to kind of set the stakes for MJF and Adam Cole kind of not trusting each other because of that, because of who attacked Jay White. Let that story be a thing. And it's like, okay, great. But ultimately, the thing I'm looking at is it's not Bullet Club Gold, that's for sure. It's not Bullet Club Gold. They did not, it's not the Guns and Juice. They weren't the ones who attacked Jay. It had to be the fucking Kingdom. It had to be a thing to set up Max and make him look bad. Whether Adam Cole was in on it or not, we don't know. Whether Adam Cole would have been part of the group jumping him that jumped Jay White in order to freaking set the accusation, in order to freaking set off the idea that, okay, look, the Kingdom is doing this. But then Adam Cole points the finger at MJF, or Roddy points the finger at MJF, or MJF points the finger at Adam Cole. Basically, this is a thing to get these guys pointing the finger at each other. And Jay White and Bullet Club Gold end up taking advantage of that, and I think that that's the way that they're going to... If this is actually the best chance that MJF has of actually losing the AEW World Championship at some point. Not at WrestleDream. This is when he's defending the Ring of Honor tag titles by himself. Probably losing those. Barring some fucking stroke of luck or one... I don't know. He's probably losing that title tonight. If he hasn't already. Looking at the time. And there's also the other factor of, the Jay White thing. Jay White and Bullet Club Gold stepping in and kind of making it a faction war where the guys are pointing in a situation where Adam Cole and the Kingdom and MJF are all going to be pointing a finger at each other and shit, while Bullet Club freaking picks the bones, and Jay White is hoping to use that as his path to the championship. And personally speaking, I don't know if Jay wins the title at this point. I don't know if he does. I'd like him to. I'm a huge Jay White fan. I think that guy's one of the best in the world, especially as a freaking cerebral heel. I think he's one of the smartest wrestlers on the planet. And I love the freaking promo segment that they just had this past Wednesday before the attack, where Max basically tried to go shock jock and work shoot and talk about how Jay, you're this perfectly calibrated machine of what somebody in Japan thought is a top guy, and this, that, and the third. And then Jay White just freaking surgically picked him apart about how soft he's gotten. Like, I don't give a shit about this fucking insider bullshit that you're talking about. Oh, who calibrated and who perfectly composed or controlled or calibrated or facilitated or carefully packaged who I am and into this thing that this person or this entity thinks is. I don't care about that jargon that you're talking. What I care about the fact that I want this freaking world title. I'm looking at a champion who's distracted with his buddy relationship with Adam Cole. And this whole issue between him and Adam Cole and the guys from the Kingdom and Roderick Strong and this, that, and the third. I'm looking at a distracted champion. I want your fucking title. I don't give a shit what you're talking about with this fucking bullshit. And Max gets rattled by this. And I fucking love it because it's consistent and it's a callback to what happened with both of these guys over their histories. Jay White is a master at fucking picking people apart surgically in and out of the ring. That's his deal. That's his strong point. That's the thing that gets him his championships. His ability to outsmart and outthink and pick apart your weaknesses. This is the thing. When he did it to Hangman Adam Page a few years ago, when he cut that I remember it was Strong Style Evolved, right? Strong Style Evolved was the show right after Jay White had beaten Kenny Omega for the United States Championship, for the IWGP US title, which we just, the championship that we ironically have been talking about with Ospreay a few minutes ago. Jay White was the guy who ended Kenny Omega's inaugural reign with that title. And Hangman immediately stepped up to him as the next challenger. I remember this. And at the press conference for Strong Style Evolved, both of these guys had their chance to say their piece about why they think they should be the champion and the mindset that they're coming in to try to beat the other guy to either take the title in Hangman's case or keep the title in Jay's case. And Hangman cut this super impassioned worked shoot literally right off the heels of Roman Reigns doing it to Brock Lesnar. He cut this super impassioned worked shoot about how he's going to America on a regular basis, and so he's the best representative for the IWGP in the United States. He wants to be the United States champion because he's the one who's going to defend the title in America all the time. Meanwhile, Jay White only goes to America when New Japan does. He basically tried to pull the "you're a part-timer in America" card. First off, it doesn't work that way because he's not a part-timer, period. Second off, we're at the point where guys shooting on each other for part-time schedules has become a see-through tactic for not having a fucking character worth talking about, for why we should root for you specifically to be the guy to beat them. It's become a fucking crutch. Even back then, it was obvious that shit had become a fucking crutch. And here Hangman was applying it, not because Jay White is actually a part-timer, but because most of his work is in the home country of New Japan Pro Wrestling, not the country that they named the title after. No. That shit was weak as fuck. Okay, the fans at the, I don't remember what arena it was, but it's in the United States, so of course the fans were going to fucking pop for that in the moment. But then Jay White does that thing. The same thing that he just did with MJF, he does it here in the most pinpoint, epic manner that I think I've seen in a long time, when he completely destroyed being the elite. And every fucking distracted ass thing that they were doing, another thing that they were doing, all the issues that they had created within the Bullet Club, he completely tore them apart. Not only how bad the elite were for Bullet Club, not only the fact that their days in Bullet Club were pretty much fucking numbered if Tama Tonga and Bad Luck Fale have anything to say about it, but also the fact that Hangman Adam Page himself is so distracted by all this bullshit that there's no fucking way he's focused on beating Jay White for the IWGP United States Championship. Jay White looked like the fucking man in that promo. And I was like, okay, this kid's the future. It's not just an edgelord look. He's the fucking future. If anybody should be in Bullet Club, it should be this motherfucker. If anybody should be carrying New Japan into going forward, it should be this kid. That's what I was saying then. Meanwhile, a lot of cats in IWC didn't really catch on to the fact, and here's the thing, I had a different name then. That's another fucking thing that I need to point out. That's what I was saying then. That was back when I had a different name. And that was back when nobody had really cottoned on to who Jay White is. And a lot of the people who were starting to pay attention to him were just dismissing him as a Kenny Omega clone. Especially after he took over Bullet Club. People just dismiss him as, oh, you're just a lesser replacement for Kenny Omega. You're nothing. You're a piece of shit. You're no talent hack. You're a nobody compared to Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's a wrestling god. Who is this Jay White? This motherfucker was the future of the game. I saw that he was the future of the game in freaking March. Shit. When he was coming after Tanahashi before Wrestle Kingdom, I saw a driven and ambitious character. And a young guy who has probably some type of look to him. Then we fucking have the match with Kenny when he fucking rejected the offer to join Kenny's Bullet Club and he took his fucking United States Championship instead. And it's like, okay, New Japan obviously has faith in this kid. And if you actually look at the match with him and Kenny, he actually showed shades of like shades of really tactical smart. He showed shades of being the same type of in-ring tactician. Not saying on the level, but the same type of tactician as Jake the Snake Roberts. But with a more of a New Japan counter wrestler flavor. And I loved that aspect of Jay White from the start. But it was when he cut the promo at the press conference destroying Hangman and being the Elite that I was 100% sold on Switchblade Jay White before anybody else who hadn't already been paying attention to him as a young boy or on his Ring of Honor excursion. If you weren't paying attention to him back then, the only way you could have been sold on Jay White faster than I was is if you were already paying attention to him back then. Besides that, nah, I already knew he was the fucking man since he fucking destroyed Hangman. And this is basically, and how funny that his first promo in AEW was actually coming after the world champion is that same type of promo. How fitting is that? It's the same type of freaking promo. The other guy tries to freaking do a work shoot on him. Obviously not in the fucking IWC geek type of flavor, but in more of an MJF smug jock flavor. Because MJF is not Hangman. So he comes across cooler. And he comes across like and he has his own different vibe when he tries to do this shit. You know what? I applaud him. I love it. But it was the same fucking type of promo in the end. He freaking tries to do a shock jock routine, peppered with a worked shoot. And Jay White just completely flips that script and tears it apart and attacks the character flaws of the guy who just tried to do a worked shoot on him. And it worked perfectly. Fucking Max was pissed off. Jay was skipping out of the ring. It was hilarious. Seeing Jay skip out like that. But Jay's not the only one whose character was enhanced or consistently held to by this promo. Max was as well. Because back during MJF's heel run, he's got a history of this shit. Of him trying to be the fucking smug asshole, trying to cut a freaking a promo with shock jock type of disses and whatnot. Basically devolving into a freaking AEW promo rap battle the way that a lot of these fucking AEW guys do. I remember saying this in the comments to the actual fucking video of it because it's actually true. You notice a lot of these fucking AEW promos, they turn into fucking jousting battles. They turn into freaking verbal jousts. Practically rap battles, but without the actual beaten rhymes. It happened on a regular basis. It happens on a regular basis. But MJF is a guy who uses that to his advantage to build these promos by having his character try to start a fucking rap battle, thinking that, he's got all the smug, being so self-assured and smug that, he's got all the suave comebacks and he's got all the digs that he can throw. He's got all the freaking shade that he can throw at a guy. So he's in control. He's the man. He's Maxwell Jacob Friedman and he's better than you and you know it. But then the other guy fucking says some shit that hits on an insecurity or point of irritation that he did not expect them to talk about. And suddenly they take over the entire fucking promo. Seen it with Ricky Starks. Seen it with Chris Jericho. Seen it with Darby Allin during that Four Pillars promo. Probably the only enjoyable part of that whole Four Pillars feud. That didn't make all four of them look like jackasses at the same time. Ricky Starks was right. The whole four pillar shit needed to go away. Should have never been done. And by preordaining these guys before they all earned that type of equity with the crowd and in the product, it just became fucking Bush League and made them all look like they were freaking being handed shit because of entitlements. Especially Jungle Boy. Probably why he turned heel. That freaking shit completely flatlined him as a babyface. Yeah, you can probably take the hint that I don't like Jungle Boy. But MJF, the Darby Allin part of that promo, where I'm the guy, or I've never talked about a bidding war of 2024 and that type of shit. That was good. But yeah, point is, the fact that he's not expecting somebody to come at him with something serious. Happened with Jericho, happened with Darby, happened with Ricky Starks. Shit. When he was during this one of his first freaking title, besides Ricky Starks, one of his first major title challenges was Bryan Danielson. Christopher Daniels fucking gave him one of those speeches while he had paid Daniels to try to talk about Bryan Danielson, to talk shit on Bryan Danielson. He paid Christopher Daniels to try to talk shit on Bryan Danielson. Instead, Daniels turned it on Max in that exact same type of way. And now, yeah, okay, he's a babyface. He's a good guy. He's no longer the scumbag. Well, he's no longer the vicious scumbag who hates the fans. He's still a scumbag. He's self-admitted. But he's your scumbag. He's not a lowbrow asshole the way Christian Cage is. But the point is, he's still got that shock jock dig in him. He's still got that shock jock aspect to him. And because he's still got that shock jock aspect to him, he's still got that smugness to where he thinks that he can just destroy his opponent with that shock jock routine. But it still doesn't work because Switchblade Jay White is Switchblade Jay White. And he can see that things are changing with you. And he can see that there is a part of you that wants to stab Adam Cole in the back because you're insecure about being taken advantage of your damn self. And so he freaking hits on that by saying, "You've gone soft." And it's brilliant because it plays into Jay White's strength and MJF's flaw that have both been presented as the consistent aspect of their characters. And because of it, you build up the freaking title match between the two before you even think that there's going to be one. And then you freaking have this devil whodunit story, this mystery angle, by somebody freaking jumping Jay White in the back with a bunch of masked goons with a leader in a devil mask. Ooh. This is good. This is good storytelling. This is good work so far. So you see, I'm not completely taking a dump all over AEW at all times for the sake of, I don't hate the company. I just don't trust the people running it. That's always been my fucking bag with AEW. I don't trust the people running the shit. I don't trust the elite. I don't trust Tony Khan. I barely halfway trust. I didn't really trust CM Punk either. I don't trust the guys running that ship to actually be willing to do what's right, even when it inconveniences them and their personal taste. That's the deal. But when they do put their taste aside, or at least use them in the right way and subjugate it to the right type of packaging, AEW is capable of a lot of good shit. They are very capable of good shit. That's not my problem. I've never said that this company is weak or incapable or they can't do anything good or they can't do anything right. That's never been my bag. That's never been my concern. That's never been my position. My position has always been, I don't trust this nigga. I don't trust this booker. I don't trust this creative. This person in charge, I should say. I don't trust this guy. That's always been my position. That's never been a thing about, oh, these guys don't have talent, or these guys don't have any or nobody has any type of ideas or any type of vision or any type of knowing what's right for the business, or these guys have no potential to do anything. That's never been my position. My position has been, I don't trust these people that are running the fucking ship. But now I'm seeing that there's a certain element of the cream rising to the top, even in spite of the people that are running this. Even in spite of what the people that are running things would like to do, or would ideally want to do and make it all about themselves and their vision and their taste. And they do enough of it to kind of still hold back the company, I can assure you. Look at Orange Cassidy and how his freaking and how like it got to the point where like his freaking ship is seeking ratings now, just like the Young Bucks do on a regular basis. And it's like you can see where like Tony Khan and the Young Bucks and their personal tastes get in the way of the company doing what's best for itself. But it's no longer, but we're starting to see this element of the cream rising to the top, of the companies getting bigger, and things are, or at least trying to get bigger. Warner Brothers Discovery is investing more into making the company get bigger, and so now you have this element. Now you have this element of like these guys. You have to freaking start making moves and putting some of your personal taste to the side, and doing things that are better for the business. You have to start cutting back on a lot of the freaking gratuitous hardcore BS. You have to start using more sports entertainment storytelling, even if you don't want to call it sports entertainment. Look what they're doing with Adam Cole. Look what they've done with, look what, and how he's been incorporated in the Max's deal and the change that he's brought to to MJF's entire character. That's been good. The fact that Swerve Strickland is actually getting more prominent spots. He hasn't won a major feud yet. He needs to start winning big tonight. But I'm seeing that there is some potential buy-in there when it comes to Swerve. They're starting to see his vision and the things that he's trying to do and the things that he is pulling off, and they're just starting to freaking be like, okay, we can give this guy a little bit more of the ball here. We're starting to see Switchblade Jay White, who I thought was being booked like, not even booked like, but his matches were being structured like shit in the beginning. Now we're starting to see them actually tapping into the switchblade that brought back the idea of Bullet Club being Bullet Club. We're seeing that guy back again. And there are some very pleasant things about what's going on in AEW. There's still the obvious fucking Reseda bullshit, but there's also some things that are good. And I'm hoping to see these good things continue to gain more traction. And I'm hoping to see these good things inevitably win out as far as being the major thing, as far as being the major focus of the company. I want to see what's going on with MJF and Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom and how that shit develops. I want to see the Mogul Embassy and Swerve Strickland continue to rise. I want to see Jay White and the Bang Bang Gang. Hell, you know what I really, really want to see? Let's freaking throw a fucking curveball at the entire... Not even a curveball. I've been campaigning for this shit. I really want to see a merger. The whole Mogul Embassy itself is already a merger between Prince Nana's Embassy and Swerve and the Mogul Affiliates brand. Why not freaking do a double merger? Why not merge the Mogul Embassy and the Bang Bang Gang into the true definitive edition of Bullet Club Gold? Why not fucking take over the company that way and make it to where both King Switch and the head honcho Swerve are fucking running shop over this company? You can use that, and you can use the fucking skirmish with the kingdom and everything that's going on there and the freaking dysfunction, and even potentially have the Adam Cole betrayal and shit. You can use, to me, you fucking throw the whole bag. To me, you throw the whole bag at all these fucking guys. You do the whole thing. You do the Undisputed Kingdom turning on Max, or at least convincing Adam Cole to abandon Max. You do the fucking Mogul Embassy beating the Elite in their feud. You have Jay White freaking take the world title. If it's not going to be Adam Cole himself, if it's not going to be pulling the switch to have Adam Cole himself be the one to beat MJF, Jay White's the next best guy at this point in the ballgame, in my opinion. Christian Cage, I think they feel like he's too old to be a world champion. So him making the TNT title special, I think, is a good goal for him. Actually, I feel like it needs to be the goal, because TNT, right? TNT shouldn't the TNT championship be on a TNT show? Isn't Collision on TNT? Whereas Dynamite is on TBS? Okay, Rampage is also on TNT, but we already know Rampage is dead. Collision's practically on life support since it lost its focal difference point with CM Punk being gone now. But I think if you can use your championships to structure shit out a little better, like the TNT championship being the main title of Collision, I think you can do something with that. And I think Christian Cage's current title run is the way to make it happen. And maybe after a rematch or two, Darby, maybe in a future rematch, Darby can take it from him and kind of take the ball from there. But at this point, you need Christian. You need Christian. And you need him to be the carrier of Collision as the TNT champion in order to keep that brand alive. And you also need to freaking use not need to. I'm not gonna freaking tell them they need a resource that they haven't tapped yet. But in my opinion, you do the merger with the Mogul Embassy and Bullet Club into Bullet Club. You do that yes, including Prince Nana. Okay? Yes. It'll be the first okay, it'll be the first time that Prince Nana would be part of a stable that's not actually called Embassy. But I would, without a shadow of a doubt, you would mix catchphrases together. Do the whole by the order of the Peaky Blinders shit, but instead of doing it at the end of whatever they say or whatever they declare, you do it at the beginning with the Mogul Embassy and the Bang Bang Gang. Like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking, no, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil the actual way that I would want the catchphrase to be mapped out, because if I actually say the actual thing, even if they do go through with the merger idea, they're never going to do it. So I'm just going to leave it at this. Do the fucking merger. Can you imagine what you could do with that? Jay White, as smart as he is, as smart as he is as a wrestler and as a character guy, Swerve, with as much creative vision as he has, the fact that Bullet Club is literally at its best an NWO tribute act, which the NWO got its swag from hip hop culture in the first place. You freaking tie it all back together by bringing in a guy like Swerve, who is all about the hip hop culture, and making him a co-leader of the AEW branch of the Bullet Club, which in my opinion would become the definitive edition of 2023-2024 Bullet Club. Because no. Look, Jay White, Swerve, big motherfucking Brian Cage, the whole credibility of Bullet Club Gold, crazy ass Boris the Animal Juice Robinson, who I know Mongo Slade hates him, but I don't, bro. I get where I've always kind of, not always, but like past few years or so, I've kind of grown to appreciate the fact that the dude actually like has some type of freaking passion and loudness on the microphone, even if he's capable of coming across grating to certain ears. I get it. You don't really like him. You don't think he's really that great in the ring. You're not really buying into his personality that much. But me, I'm buying it. I've bought in. I'm sold on fucking Boris the Animal Juice Robinson. I'm sold on him in that persona. Brian Cage is a guy who I think he feels like he should have been a world champion already, if you're looking at this freaking build. But I think he's too content bumping and working like a cruiserweight and shit to really be a big man world champion like that. So I'm not really looking for him to be a world champion, but a solid gatekeeper in the mid card. This dude needs to be that. He needs that kind of build. But look at the fucking credibility that you got with these guys. because he is a former Impact World Champion, that's for sure. He's a former Impact World Champion. So maybe I'm speaking out of my ass when I say, oh, he works too much like a cruiserweight to be a world championship big man. No. The real reason he's not going to be a world champion is because AEW doesn't like big men. But this is a different ballgame for another day. Make him a solid fucking mid-carder, please. At least be willing to fucking show him enough respect to do that. He does need that. He does deserve that. He should have that. Make him that. Make him a solid freaking mid-card gatekeeper kind of a guy. Because we already know he's good. He's good at that. Juice Robinson is crazy. Boris the Animal gimmick is a perfect number 2 best friend type of character for a leader. So you know what? I like the idea of Juice and Cage being the mid-card gatekeepers of the group. Gates of Agony. Solid team, solid duo. Work well together. New at the game. Still learning their craft. Still learning how to speak and everything. I could actually see Jay White being the kind of guy who would take a shine to them and use them as freaking backup guys if they, especially in the manner of like they remind him of certain cats that he used to know. Like, let's say, I could actually see him saying that, especially considering look how well built freaking Bishop Khan is in terms of his look. The dude looks like a black prince, which he actually is, a Cameroonian prince. His dad is actually a chief of a tribe in Cameroon. Yes, I literally just said that Bishop Khan is the heir to a tribal chief. That should be an interesting point that you could play on. Plus, look at how freaking built and jacked and serious he is. Play that off of the craziness of the guns. There's character there. There's character. And people, it doesn't take away my enjoyment of either fucking stable if they don't do this. This is just an idea that I think that they would be even cooler if they banded together, the Mogul Embassy and the Bang Bang Gang. I think that those two stables as a double act would work wonders together. But I still like the two groups individually. I actually love the two groups individually. That's part of why I want to fucking do this. I love these two groups. I love how they work. I'm ultimately a fan of what Bullet Club Gold and the Mogul Embassy are both doing individually speaking, specifically at the top of the game. Like, Bullet Club Gold overall is a freaking fun stable. Like, they have that juvenile DX element to them, obviously, but it's not this freaking, it's not like cartoonish in the manner that it's not cartoonish and crude and lewd and disrespectful to the game and the way that the Young Bucks do it. Now, I like the guns. I like the guns. They're cool. They're cool with me. The top shelf guns. I like them. Juice Robinson, the Boris the Animal gimmick like I've said, it's won me over. I'm all good with it. The Mogul Embassy can be the more serious arm of the group, obviously, with the exception of Prince Nana doing the fucking dance. I wonder, would he keep the dancing to just Swerve's theme, or would he also potentially dance to Jay White in the Switchblade theme song from New Japan? Because it has a similar cadence, or not cadence, a similar beat speed. The speed to the, or at least to the original version of Swerve's theme song, the speed is similar, the tempo, I should say, is similar to the Switchblade song. So I wonder if they would actually if they were actually together in a group, if Prince Nana would actually come to the ring with Jay and frickin' do Jay's and frickin' dance like a lunatic to Jay's entrance music. I think it would probably be hilarious. But the real reason I really want to see them, and not just because I want to see the real reason, number one is obviously putting Swerve in Bullet Club. It just fucking fits like a glove more than pretty much anybody since the originals. I want to see what this cat would do with that brand, because he fits the hip hop. He fits the grit work element of what Bullet Club was meant for in the first place, in a way that David Finlay could only fucking dream of. And he fits the idea of bringing it back to the hip hop vibe, bringing it back full circle to the hip hop vibe that inspired the original group that Bullet Club bit its stick from in the first place. Yeah, Bullet Club Bullet Club at its best is a tribute to the Clique and especially the NWO. And in terms of the comedic side, to DX. But more so to the NWO, especially for the part that Swerve would be there for. Bullet Club is basically an NWO tribute act, and the NWO got its swag from hip-hop culture. Swerve is all about hip-hop culture. I've said this before. Even in I reiterated it in this video. I'm saying it again. It works as that call to bring it back to that. Yes, Swerve is 100% fit for Bullet Club. To bring this serious grit work element of making these guys dangerous bad guys. Swerve fits Bullet Club like a glove for that also. Having a creative vision that can actually bring something to the table beyond great matches and bangers and all of that jazz. Bringing something that can be savage and dangerous. Bringing something that can be unpredictable, that can disrupt the status quo of what what the company is marketing itself on, but at the same time being the type of guy that can easily fulfill the work rate requirement of like the kind of matches that AEW fans love. Swerve fits that shit too. So to me, he fits the Bullet Club brand. All of his guys in the Mogul Embassy are good for backup agents to something like that. Fuck, Brian Cage. He has boots that say BC. He has gear with a skull, black and white gear with a skull. Okay, I get it. BC is his initials. It's not Bullet Club. I get it. But still, it just fits like a fucking glove to put him in that shit. To put all of them in that shit. Khan and Toa. I mean, imagine the idea of building them up to kind of be the next generation of like the Pacific guys or the Pacific guys or the tribal guys that give that extra element of grit and danger to the club. Like that shit, that's how they fit together in the embassy. Bring that shit to the club. And that's the shit that the club has been missing since you took out Tama Tonga. A mistake, by the way. I will continue to be sore about that when it comes to New Japan. But that's another fucking deal for another day. I've gone on way longer than I thought I was going to. There's some stream of consciousness shit. And by the time that this shit even uploads, I'm probably already going to have some of the answers to some of the shit that I'm talking about here. I'm going to already know if Max has lost the tag team titles to the Righteous, what role, if any, the Kingdom had in what ended up happening. Did Adam Cole turn heel? Was Britt Baker there? Is she involved in this shit yet? What did Roddy do? Is he involved in this shit? Or not is he involved? What did Roddy do? What's his role? Did he help MJF win the tag or retain the tag titles in order to kind of curry favor with Cole? Did he try to cost MJF the titles or it backfired? Or did he actually cost MJF the titles? I don't know, but we're probably going to already know by the time this shit uploads. Did Takeshita and the Don Callis family lose to Team Omega and Jericho? Most likely. But I'm not going to know that yet until after we're done. Saraya and Shida don't really care that much about that match. I should care more, but it just speaks to the fact that Tony Khan really has not really done as much. Has not solidified the women's division the way he probably should have. This is most likely Saraya's going to fucking keep that title if she hasn't already kept it. And this is going to lead up to Mercedes Moné. Christian that's supposed to be the main event, so that hasn't happened yet, but it'll have happened by the time this uploads. Did Edge come back? Did Edge come back? That's my question. That'll be the question. Did Edge come back and help Darby beat Christian, or did Edge come back to help Christian? Is he turning heel? Is Adam Copeland debuting in AEW as Christian Cage's ally? That would be a twist. Don't think so. Think the fans would love Adam Copeland way too much to actually be willing to fucking boo him with Christian. Hell, they're probably both saying, hey, look, turn me heel. I want to work against Edge. That's how this shit works and fits better. And you know what? They would be right if that's the decision that they convinced Tony Khan to go with. But at the same time, I wouldn't have Edge screw Darby Allin out this match. If anything, what I would do it is, screw Christian out this match, that's to say. If anything, it should be a thing where Adam Copeland shows up after the match. Or is his debut even connected to Christian? Is he here for something else or for someone else? I don't know. I don't think any of us know yet. That's the funky question of it all. What's Copeland here to do? What if Copeland helped MJF retain the tag team titles? What if he's the replacement for Adam Cole for this one night? Or for this one particular period of time, for this situation? What if? I don't know. You could easily do interesting shit. There could be a lot of interesting shit done. Now, I'm not going to ask, did Bullet Club and the Embassy actually merge? I severely doubt Tony Khan is actually thinking about that. Even though I want him to, and I want him to do it, I severely doubt that that's even an idea in Tony Khan's head right now, that should even be a thing. But are they both are they both successful? Oh yeah, the freaking Guns are part of the... Are they? Anymore? That's probably in the buy-in, right? Which means it would have already happened. The freaking 4-way number 1 contenders match for the tag titles. I'm already predicting it's either going to be the Bucks or Orange and Hook. I'm already thinking won that match already, because I'm too busy talking right now to actually see either the show itself or the results yet. So this is gonna be a thing I end up watching back more than anything else. I freely admit that, but it's interesting. I'm just kind of pre-gaming this shit, and the shit's already freaking done. By the time this uploads, the shit's already done. This is just my pre-game thought, and I'm only now giving you my pre-game thoughts. This is lame on my part, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm almost approaching 2 hours. I'm about to freaking go into... I'm already overthinking. Basically, the main thing I'm interested in is did Swerve win? Does or did Swerve beat Hangman? Oh yeah. And did he come out to Ain't Nobody by Shaka Khan? Did Tony Khan shell out that money? That's another fucking thing that I think people are thinking. Because this is a hometown entrance. He's in his home stomping grounds, representing. So I think it could be a thing where, like, for one night only, he does do the Shaka Khan thing as a babyface. And because we already seen Tony Khan is willing to shell out money for guys. And entrance music for special occasions. We've seen him willing to do that. So this could be that situation again. So really, the first thing I'm thinking is, are you willing to freaking shell out that money for a Swerve to get Shaka Khan for that one night? Is he willing to do Shaka Khan for that one night? Or is he more tied to his heel gimmick to the point where, like, okay, the hometown's going to cheer me, but I don't give a fuck? To me, I don't know. This is going to be interesting. Seeing how this is shaking out and will continue to shake out throughout the night. It's going to be interesting to figure all that shit out. But the main thing is I really hope Swerve won. And overall, I don't really have much more to add. I'm actually closing in on freaking 2 hours, so this is my end. This is my exit for this evening. Stay gold.